on Singapore, we're going to vote this week on two agreements, actually. It's the trade agreement and the investment agreement, because after all the hiccup between the Commission and the Member States about who will actually need to sign what, the Commission at some point decided, okay, let's just have it separate, trade and investment. As Greens, we have huge problems with those agreements, and one of the biggest problems, or the biggest problems that we see in this is the whole ISDS thing, so that you have a special judicial system for investors, again in the Singapore Agreement. So investors will have the right to sue governments, in this case EU and EU member state governments, if they think something goes against their interest. And their interest is really broadly described. For example, when it comes to public services, question what is a public service and also how much can you regulate public services, Singapore is very restrictive. It, for example, it also includes, for example, that investors can sue a state on public-private partnerships that have been agreed, and if member states have privatized a service in the past, figured out maybe that wasn't so smart an idea, and want to reverse that, then investors can sue the state from that as well. And also the whole financial sector can also be sued by investors, knowing that Singapore is not exactly an SME stronghold, but more a financial sector stronghold. This will create a lot of problems, for example, when it comes to a debt crisis. So that's big problems. We'll of course also have other problems with the Singapore Agreement. Also, let's not forget, indeed, that it's not exactly going to be SMEs in Europe that are going to profit from the trade agreement, and that again there is nothing on binding issues with regarding workers' rights, environmental rights, or even civil liberties, and Singapore ranks really badly in the area of press freedom. For example, it's the country 153 out of 175 in countries and totally ranked on press freedom, so it's really doing very bad. And Singapore has not signed two ILO conventions, one of them being the ILO Convention on Freedom of Association and Protection of the Right to Organize. So anything that goes together with workers' organizations, labor unions, etc. Singapore has not signed that for reasons, and this is not at all addressed in the agreement. So for those two reasons, we'll vote, well, no, for more reasons, but those are the ones that I just want to highlight, we vote against. What I should point out is that when it comes to this ISDS, so the investors' right to sue states, it's quite awkward because the Commission at the same time is negotiating a multilateral investment court where in the future disputes should be settled. However, right now, if we agree on the Singapore ISDS, then that means that we're right now going to start paying for the potential judges of the Singapore Agreement. And then in a couple of months, when the multilateral investment court is agreed, then we will start paying for them, for those judges as well. But the Singapore Agreement will run forever. So we'll forever finance a parallel structure. And I think we could really wait until the multilateral agreement is done or not. Also, we should wait for the ECJ judgment on the CETA case, which is pending and coming in the next couple of weeks or a maximum 2-3 months. So this would certainly be something to wait for rather than push this through.